kind of fell off the wagon on that one. At first I was intrigued with it, but then after like that. She's harmless as vice president. Less harmless as senator.
She would be scared if they put her in that.
Right. They at least see a
Okay, shall we rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order. Minutes, resolution 2428 to accept the minutes of January 17, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, corrections? All in favor? There's no public hearing. Public comments. To allow members of the public to comment or reserve time to speak on an upcoming agenda item. Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to speak? Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Tashjian. I work with FEMA. Just wanted to announce our presence in the county and in the town. We have a disaster recovery center open at 4 County Drive at the county's EOC. We've got DSA, disaster survivor assistance teams, actually canvassing in the town. One's right here in Skowhegan, that's the pronunciation right, I'm from away. And the other is up in North Alton? Anson, excuse me. I'll get my geography down as well. I'm working very closely with Mike and Tammy, so if you need to reach me for any reason, please, you can get to them and they can get to me. Otherwise, that's it. I'll leave some flyers behind. We urge all the citizens that have been affected by the floods, we're talking December floods now, to register with FEMA, or they can come in person to the DRC and register directly with one of our agents there. Any questions before I take off?
No. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can leave all the stuff with.
I'll just leave it right up on the table here, and feel free to grab a copy and make copies and
Beautiful.
distribute them far and wide. Any way you can amplify our message helps us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other person from the public who wishes to speak or reserve time? Seeing none? Workshop, update from Aaron Benson on the Central Western Maine Workforce Development Board and the Chief Local Elected Officers Board. Aaron,
Do
hi.
I sit here?
You come right here.
Okay.
That way you get the microphone.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Erin Benson. I'm the Executive Director for the Central Western Maine Workforce Development Board. There are 3 local boards in the state of Maine. We serve Androscoggin, Oxford, Franklin, Somerset, and Kennebec counties. And it's under an employment grant through the Employment and Training Administration, the ETA. And the money comes from the ETA, from the USDOL, to the Maine Department of Labor, to the boards, and the boards hire a service provider that works directly with participants in the region. And the goal, it's basically an employment grant, and it's been around since the 30s. It's been called something different, CETA, JTPA, WIA, WIA, and in 2014 they enacted WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, and it was implemented in 2015. And so there's the Central Western Maine Workforce Development Board, which is comprised of 51% of businesses, 20% of union or workforce representatives, and then also their 5 required partners. And that board meets on a quarterly basis. And then there is the chief elected official board. And you all can meet whenever you want. And I think it was either 2021 or 2022, I was not here at the time, but the 5 representatives from the 5 counties created, made some decisions to meet on a monthly basis, no less than a quarterly basis. That can be changed, but that's what was decided upon earlier. So you don't, the county commissioners don't have to meet at all if they don't want to. But the responsibilities, the chief elected officials are the local grant recipient of the allocated WIOA funds. They're funds that are 3 programs, adult, dislocated worker, and youth. And those funds are allocated to each of the counties. You designated the Central Western Maine Workforce Initiative, which is the 501c3 arm of the Central Western Maine Workforce Development Board. You designated that 501c3 to be the recipient. But you still have oversight and are responsible for how the money is spent, to make sure that it's spent appropriately. And so, for that reason, you know, it's important that the chief elected officials of each of the 5 counties, you know, review the budget. You should look at the quarterly financials to just make sure that it's all done appropriately, and, you know, ask questions if you have them, because ultimately, you're responsible to make sure that they're spent appropriately. Another task is you're supposed to appoint people to the Central Western Maine Workforce Development Board, and so that would be businesses. I'm delighted to say that we just brought on Sam Height. I've been trying to find somebody in the Somerset County area, and Sam has agreed. We've got Josh from Timber HP on the board as well. And my goal is to make sure that the Central Western Maine Workforce Development Board is comprised of people from all 5 counties and representing different sectors. But, you know, in the law, it says that the county commissioners, commissioners really should appoint people to the board, and you have to approve them too. So I know I just recently sent something out that John signed, approval of the new people that had come on board. One person who is the chief of the chief elected officials attends the state workforce board meeting, and that's Joe Petrosky from Kennebec County. So I'm assuming that whatever he learns there, he shares with other members of the chief elected officials board. Every 2 years, we're responsible for negotiating performance measures. So, you know, how many people, enrollment figures, but also we have performance measures of how many people get credentials, what are the percentages of people that get credentials, what are the percentages of people that complete, what are the percentages of people that stay employed after 6 months, stay employed after 12 months. So we negotiate that, and so the chief has to sign off on it. So that would be Joe, but I'm assuming he might be interested in talking with the other 4 members of the board, you know, but again, that's up to you all to designate how you want those duties split. And every 4 years, we have to create a plan that takes into account the economy, the population, the kind of demographics that we have, the businesses that are here. We have to put together a plan that reflects how we're going to spend that money and in what areas. And you all are privy, I'm assuming, to the things that happen in this county. And so you have an idea of, for instance, New Balance is going to hire 200 people, and how can we help with that? I mean, to me, you have an opportunity to give us information about what's happening here so we can act upon it, and make sure that it's reflected in this 4-year plan. So those are really the basic. There were a lot of things that were done when it was first implemented that decisions were made, and those decisions are done with, so you don't have to, you know, readjust to any of that. So the ones that I've outlined right now are really the continuing things that you have to, you know, take into consideration. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I mean, I know there is a concern about meeting, and you don't have to meet, but you would have to change your bylaws to reflect that. And when I say you, I mean the 5 commissioners that represent the 5 counties that we serve. And I'm happy to assist with that. So,
So the bylaws as they exist do determine 4 meetings.
it says that you can't meet less than quarterly. When I came in September of 2022, there seemed to have been monthly meetings for like 5 months in a row, and then in like January, I think, through April or May, and then there were no more meetings. So there was a pattern of meeting monthly, but in the bylaws, it says no less than quarterly. So you would just, if you decide that you don't need to do that, you could just change your bylaws.
Aaron, hi, it's nice to see you in person. I've been kind of the troublemaker on this, so I would apologize in advance, but I just am very confused by this whole thing. I have been, as you know, for quite a while. So I'm not even, the mission of this statute is to provide employment to people that have barriers to employment in one form or another. And the budget right now, last time we had a meeting, there's quite a lot of money involved. Sort of paid out at different rates and schedules.
They're different grants.
Yeah.
And sometimes, so what we call the formula grants are the ones that come to us every year, adult, dislocated worker, and youth.
But these grants are from the federal government.
Right.
No other location.
They come from the federal government to the Maine Department of Labor and to the boards.
And we're, for the central western Maine workforce, it's, how many million is it? Ballpark?
Well, it's about, it's a little over 2 million, but that's with the formula grants, but there's also the Quest grant, which is,
What's the total? Give me a ballpark on the total number.
Probably about, with all of the grants that we have, about 5 million, but that's not typical.
And that doesn't get spent every year, right?
Oh, gosh, no.
And the statute says that, what is, the local elected officials, those are not all of the elected county commissioners in the 5 counties. It's just one designated member from each county.
From each county. And of those 5 designated people, one of them, among the 5, you elect one of them to be the chief.
Right.
And that person sits on the state workforce board and is responsible for part of the negotiation of the performance measures.
But we, as the member of this board that serves as a local elected official, is responsible and liable for the spending of these millions of dollars. Is that right?
Right. So in other words, if there was a disallowed cost.
Right.
And that's why, I think it's really important, because my job is to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Right.
But, I think it's important for you to take a look at the budget, to take a look at, the quarterly reports from the budget, just so you understand how the money is being spent and that it's being spent appropriately. Because my job is to make sure that that happens. And as long as I'm alive, I'll make sure that happens.
And how many people, for lack of a better word, recipients, candidates, employees, actually are getting benefits from this program? Is it in terms of supporting employment?
Are you talking about just participants?
Yeah, how many?
Probably close to a little over 400.
Okay.
And now that's in the 5 counties. I mean, we have enrollment goals for each of those 3 programs. Quest is an additional one that's going to go away. It may be extended, but it supposedly is going to go away in September, at the end of September of this year. So there are enrollment goals for that. There's this ARPA money that is, has goals as well, but that's going to go away too. So the formula grants are the ones that we can count on every single year.
And what happens, I raised this question before, but if nobody on this board of 5 county commissioners in Somerset County want to do this, what then? Are you just
So if nobody from this county, if none of the 5 of you want to do this,
Just so follow, right?
I would at least appoint someone, and that way, if Joe wanted to share information with you, like, hey, here are the performance measures, or, whatever. I would love to have somebody that I could call and say, hey, what's happening? Have you heard of any new businesses that are moving in, or do you know this person?
But doesn't the other board do that? The workforce board?
They do,
Yeah.
but it doesn't hurt to say, I mean, you all may be privy to things that those other board members are not. I mean, you may.
Yeah, well, it's possible, I suppose.
I mean, I'm assuming people have to come before you for licenses, for, permission to do things in this county, and so, if you have information that you think would be useful in sharing it, that would be, awesome.
If I could ask a question, because I see where this is going.
I've seen it for a long time.
Are they allowed to appoint an appointed official as a proxy to the board?
Yeah, you can. You don't have to meet as a board. That's what I'm saying. It's in your bylaws. Whoever the people were that created those bylaws, they designated that you all would meet, that the 5 counties would meet. But you don't have to, so
But in order to do that, you have to change the bylaws.
you have to change the bylaws.
What are the requirements on changing the bylaws?
You would have to meet and agree to change them. And then we could rewrite them, and that you'd have to approve them, and
So it would actually take the group of counties and all the commissioners included in that group of counties
those 5 gentlemen.
to agree to that. Is it a 50% plus 1 to change the bylaws, or is it,
Yes.
if it's a 2/3? Okay.
And I don't think you
It's not all
have
the
a hard
county
time.
commissioners, though, it's just the one member from
5
each
on the
county
board.
that serves on this
Right,
local elected
To
official.
change the bylaws, though, I mean, that's,
right, to change
so
the
it's just gonna
bylaws.
take those 5 individuals to change the bylaws, a majority of those 5 individuals, okay?
But isn't there some other provision that, if the counties for one, first of all, our county government in Maine is much different than a lot of other county systems in other states. And it's very different. We don't have a big organization, we don't have a big budget, blah, 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 blah. And if we, and it's been my experience from our meetings that we've had, is that I'm not the only person that doesn't really feel like spending a lot of time doing this. And it seems to me we're not far from a situation where the county say, we're just not going to do this, find some other way of doing it. And it seems like the statute provides that the governor's office can just provide the so-called local elected official component of this. And I don't understand why the Department of Labor just doesn't run this thing with the local board. Why are we here is I guess my basic question. It's kind of a figurehead performative thing where we're asked to improve large amounts of money, but we have actually very little idea of how it's spent. It's a full-time job. I guess you've heard me beef about this before, but it seems like it's like being a county commissioner all over again, running this program, which is a budget which is not a lot different than our county budget, and all sorts of complicated things.
So, John, I think.
Why are we doing it?
I think the provision that you're talking about was at the very beginning. So each state had the opportunity to do just a state workforce board, or they could do the state workforce board and regional boards. The vast majority of states have regional boards. There are probably about 3 or 4 states that just have a state workforce board. So that provision was put in place at the very beginning.
Yeah.
So now so the state has already chosen these, these 3 regional boards. Now, you say, why does it matter? Because the funds are allocated per county. They look at each county and employment, there's a whole algorithm that's used. And so the funds are not for the state, for the region, it's by county. And we put all of those funds together and spend them appropriately. But that's why I think that it's important for the counties to be involved. But I don't think you have to be involved as much as it's not your second
It's just like
job.
a figurehead type position.
The problem is,
Perfect for you.
Yeah, you can,
the problem is that the reality
encourage you to take
is that the money goes
Well,
to
you can encourage
the
away.
Department of Labor, and they
I did my year.
keep it. They stranglehold it. It doesn't, the counties never see it really as counties. They only see it as filtered through the workforce boards. Yet the counties are still fiscally responsible for all that money that we never see.
Well, the Northeastern Workforce Development Board, it has a different model. The money actually goes to the county. The county is the fiduciary umbrella for that regional board. Both coastal counties and the Central Western Maine Workforce Development Board designated a 501c3 to receive those funds. So that's why,
The 501c3 doesn't receive those funds either. The state captures
Well-
money and never lets it go.
well, the state has the money, and then we have to ask for it based on, what it is that we spend. So we don't,
Then why do we need to be here?
to make sure that what we're doing is spending it appropriately.
How do we know that?
But we don't know that,
How
because the
do we
state
know?
controls it all. Anyway.
Well, you can look at the budget, when Sarah, makes a report, if you have questions about how money is spent, it's like, why is there certain monies being spent here, and, John, I know that you think that it's could be a full-time job, and probably is, and I think part of my role is to make sure that it's all done well, so you don't have to worry about it.
Well, that's when I start to worry.
Trust me.
No, I do trust you. I appreciate all the work you've done. I'm not trying to give you a hard time. It's just that I find the structure of this organization to be very optimistic about the availability of all sorts of civilian volunteers to move the ball forward, and I don't really think they're out there. That's my concern.
So I guess the other question is it possible for the Central Western Maine Workforce Development Board to become the same model as Northern Board?
I don't know the answer to that. I could find out.
That would be helpful. If we resolve that, the initiative, so it came directly to the counties.
Well, again, the money isn't coming directly to you, as you said. You would have to request, you would have to do a drawdown and request, then it does become, you are into it much deeper
Right.
as far as, the things that you have to do, so.
I guess I don't know anything about the Northern Board's workings. Do you?
I know that they, they're the umbrella, and that they, the money goes to, so the drawdowns go through the board to the state, and then the money goes to the county, and then they pay, the executive director, and, so right now, I'm paid through the 501c3. And, and so so probably if you're very interested in that, I could connect you with, the Northeastern Workforce Development Board, and Penobscot County is the one that does the, so it's not all five
Is it the
counties.
Penobscot County that's taking the money from all the other counties? I see, yeah.
So it's not like each county would get an allotment,
Right.
it would be a regional approach.
I don't think this county wants to receive money from this program and spend it. We don't want to take that on, do we?
Well, if we just got it as a county, it would be easier than coordinating with other counties.
I guess I don't understand why the Department of Labor doesn't just spend the money for the purposes that the statute outlines, and provide money to the various providers that do the work. why do we have to be involved at all? I
And
don't get it.
actually, and they'd probably
They're
like to
elected
do that,
officials.
but they can't because of federal law.
Well, as
Set up for counties. Set up for
It's
counties.
set up for counties, the federal law.
Because
set
there's,
up.
yeah, in other states, the county government is
Is more-
substantially more strong than we, yeah.
well,
And that's the issue, that our county structure is a weak
Right.
government, form of government. Municipalities have greater strength than counties do in the state of Maine and New England. So it's just more difficult to apply to counties that we owe a law.
So question, if funds are misappropriated and it's discovered, who's on the hook?
The county.
That sucks.
Well, the
I
county-
tried to plow through that statute, and I thought there was sort of a default provision where if you can't get so-called local elected officials, it reverts to the governor's office, which seems to me.
there is that.
Whatever seems like a great way, that's why they're there. That's why we have a Department of Labor. That's why,
There is that somewhere in there, but I don't.
why are we doing this? We don't have the time to
Because it
do it,
was-
we don't have the expertise, we don't have I don't, as I say, I think the statute's extremely optimistic in evaluating the amount of people around that are willing to volunteer considerable amounts of time to run a very complex program with very obtuse and obscure funding mechanisms, and be liable for any kind of defalcation that may occur in the meantime.
I have to look that word up.
Look that up, Jim. I just think it's, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
It's a new word for it.
You said, Mr. Stitt.
So the bottom line is, I think the easiest thing to do is just to change your bylaws, so you don't have to meet.
But still be liable for anything, just don't pay any attention to it. But just,
You know,
that's not the problem with the meetings.
Change the bylaws, it says we're not responsible for anything.
That's the bylaw I'm looking for.
it says that, but there are there's so much oversight. You know, we're monitored by the state, we're monitored by the U.S. Department of Labor, and, there's just so much oversight.
Then all the more reason for us not to be involved. Because somebody else is already doing the job. Why are we doing it? That's I'll be quiet. Said enough.
That's because
That's how
it's
they wrote
an
the-
edict from the
that's how they
Department of
wrote it.
Redundancy Department. Thank you very much. Any other questions?
That was
or
very
concerns?
interesting.
It was.
I can send you all kinds of documents if you want.
Please.
Ask John.
John Alsop at Somerset County.
Oh, I've got him on my email.
Sure you do.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
No, thanks. Sorry, I apologize for
Don't be.
giving you a hard time.
Don't worry about it.
Great. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank
Don't be
you.
such a stranger.
Thanks, sir.
That's good,
I'm
thank you.
sorry?
Don't be such a stranger.
That's helpful,
Okay.
because I didn't even know how to spell it to actually
Something
get
to
it.
do with a bird.
I'm just not interested in being on the hook for somebody else spending money.
Doesn't matter. You are.
Yeah, I know.
Doesn't matter. Whether you're.
$5 million for 400 jobs, I mean, what could go wrong?
Well, all the money goes to this, they hire a management firm.
Okay, so is there any other comments or questions about the Central Western Maine Workforce Development Board and the CLEO
I just
board?
would note that we probably should give Tim all that responsibility.
Yeah, she said we could too.
Yeah.
No, I don't think anybody on the board
already
wants to.
started the file.
I mean, I did my year. Robert has done his 2 or 3 years. None of you 3 want to do it, I can tell in advance without even asking. So we don't have anybody on this board that wants to do it, period.
I would just run that way and see how long you get away with doing that.
That's a hell of a way to do business.
Or I would encourage Commissioner Alsop to join the board and dismantle it from within.
No, I already tried that.
I think I might use that as a re-election slogan.
There you go.
Hey,
Patrick?
If you
you guys want, I can monitor their financials to see if I see anything there.
Thank you, yes. I think that'll be a consensus decree.
If the idea of you being our proxy, Tim, with working with Patrick and making sure, because admittedly, there's not much to do, you're just asked to rubber stamp stuff. They have this huge board that does the, the finding the New Balance workers and all that stuff, and Sam Height joining it, and local business leaders. That's not our job, that's a whole nother board, and it's a sort of redundancy that drives me crazy about it.
I had the same thought as Patrick. I mean, he's certainly more than qualified to review the financials and give you a report.
So, John, with that in mind, you could still continue.
No, I did my year.
You did 2 years,
You guys don't get to hog all the good jobs, and we should rotate them.
No, if you're not gonna do it for 2 years, you can't have any more jobs. Okay, all right, moving along. Further discussion of the SEDC loan for high tide capital.
Come right up here, Christian.
All right. Good afternoon.
Since our last meeting, SCDC's loan committee has approved a loan for $100,000 for high tide. And they requested a couple revisions on the terms, which we met in the middle. That's a 5% rate. It's amortized over 10 years, and it is interest-only payments for 9 months to see them through construction.
So the question on that is, instead of 120 months, does that make it 129 months?
No, so it'll be a balloon payment, essentially their last payment or two, so.
Yeah.
I have Nancy plug in the amort schedule, so. With that, we will hold collateral, property as collateral in second position after the lead bank, First National. I think I mentioned it, it's pretty well collateralized project going off the commercial real estate appraisal. That's hitting around 18 million in value, with about $1 million, now maybe 12 in debt. So there's some security there, so it'd be a secured loan. We did request that for a project completion plan. So essentially, where are you now? How are you going to get this project complete? They've agreed to that, obviously. And then depending on their disaster funds, if it exceeds what they need to pay us off accordingly. That's kind of a gray area. We don't want to go through all of this, have them pay us off, and then see that they're short right at the end of the project. So it'll be a little bit give and take. And then that's about it. So we're happy to help them. They are speaking with some other state agencies and local agencies to hit that gap in their financing. And I know they're anxious to get back to work, so.
Is this piece going to move them forward, or are they're gonna have to put more pieces together with this for it to actually work?
Yeah, we've coordinated some other capital stacking with FAME at the state. They're looking at $500,000 there. Town of Skowhegan, and there was KV Cog potential too. So we did say we're not going to disperse funds until they're further along with that whole finance package. Throwing 100 or 200 at this probably won't bear much fruit until they're a little further along. The state has been backlogged for months ever since COVID. They've made up that ground now, so they're a few weeks out. So hopefully in the next 4 to 5 weeks we'll see all of this through.
So the loan that you're talking about now just applies to the SCDC $69,000.
Right, so we had, this will be from our own revolving loan fund. It won't draw down anything from the state. The SCDC would still be liable for all that money that we drew down from the state. I don't know if you remember, it was going to be up to $350,000. That was just a little too much exposure for us as a liability. So we've worked hard over 20 years to take small risks and build up our corpus. So we've never done a loan that big. So I think our loan committee was a little uncomfortable. As we were discussing that, some other lending opportunities present themselves, so we wouldn't have to essentially come up with that. The state, instead of us drawing it down, has their own program. They can apply to it directly, so.
So now, does this determine that High Tide no longer needs or requests $100,000 from the county?
I'll answer that. No, the reason that I added it on the agenda here was to see if the county was interested, as they have done with other loans in the past through SEDC, of matching their $100,000 with $100,000 from community benefit. That would be facilitated by SEDC to essentially use community benefit funds to make this a $200,000 loan.
Oh, so it's not 69,000, it's you have 100,000.
We have 100, and they are more than happy to have you match that. I know they were hoping for some grant dollars. That's obviously up to the commission to decide, but I know they're looking at least for a one-to-one match on that loan.
And if it was a loan, would that be in the same terms and conditions as the loan that you got?
Typically, we just accept the funds on the county's behalf, administer the loan in the same terms, yep.
So, yeah, same time period, same interest rate.
Yep.
Where's Capital Tide in reference to all the other stuff's insurance, the ability to go back to the bank?
My thought, I don't want to speak to them too much, or for them. I see, as this is completed, they'd probably refinance all of us out. As far as insurance, that's a waiting game that, there's a lot in queue right now for insurance in the area, so that's never a fun gauntlet to jump through. I will say there are two capable developers of navigating that, so, I don't think they're letting anything through the cracks. They're in the waiting game right now for the insurance.
Well, just a minute, Mike. High Tide is also involved in a project in Orono, and so they obviously have money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't speak to the Orono project. I know that that's been in the works for months, if not years, so I think it was definitely in the works before the storm in December.
They've got more than that. They've got one in New London, Connecticut, and down in southern Maine.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they're at in those projects. I know Orono is under construction, so.
So they've already purchased the building? I thought that they had to go through the town.
I'm not sure where that
In fact, they
project-
were when they left our meeting last time, they went to Orono's.
They're in their planning board meeting.
Yeah.
What schedule that project's in, I don't know. I don't dabble in Orono.
Well, I know that's not your bailiwick, but still, it's all one operation, and we're dealing with this one company that we want to see succeed, but at the same time, if they fail, it brings us down with two. And so we have to be careful of our fiduciary responsibilities to our constituents.
Yep.
Which is, I'm in favor of the loan, but no grants.
So, you guys were uncomfortable with 350,000. If we match it, we're going to be in the 200,000 range. In my mind is fairly close to that neighborhood. What do you?
Well, traditionally, when we partner with the county, we're not liable for that 100, they are, right? So we do our due diligence to collect that. If we have to, if there's any default, then we go through legal proceedings, but that's not a liability for SEDC, So typically, community benefit and TIF funds were for grants only, and then 3 or 4 years ago, I guess, we transitioned into loans on certain projects with an understanding we do all the paperwork, the administration, stuff like that, but we weren't held liable on that debt amount. So I think the county looked at it at that point of, normally we gift and grant this money away. If we can lend it and recapture the principal and some interest, great, so. But we'd still only be liable for our 100. The 350 would, I don't want to say would wipe out our loan accounts, but we're not as
Before anybody starts talking, Mike had his hand up.
I just wanted to mention that, I'm not sure that it's been really well publicized, but Small Business Administration is also at the EOC. They actually are in a separate section. They have set up out in the PPE storage building, and they are accepting businesses and that. So that, as far as low interest loans go, so there's another avenue for them that I would absolutely recommend they take a look at.
Yep. Yeah, and we've mentioned that.
Thank you.
I think until the last few days, maybe, details weren't confirmed with that. So I think we met, well, about a month ago, I guess, and so we wanted to hit the ground running of,
Do we split, if we put up 100 for a loan and SCDC puts up 100 and then things go belly up and they only have $50,000 to pay us off, do we split that or you get the first 150?
essentially that loan package is split in two, whether it's
So we-
earned interest or loss.
All right.
Yeah.
And do you have a sense of whether this place is going to go out of business and go completely defunct if we don't lend them $100,000?
That's a tough question, John. I would say, I think one is quick access to cash to continue working. And typically, we're fast in lending. Getting on the schedule here can be quick. Waiting for disaster programs and funds can be a waiting game. Waiting for insurance can be a waiting game. So we looked at everything available.
Joel, you had a question?
No, that liability one was it.
So I've taken the liberty of putting a resolution to this end later on the agenda. And so if the board wishes to take it up later, they certainly can on number 33. Or if they choose to pass over, then pass over.
I think we'll discuss it at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we've got a third workshop for the discussion regarding non-union wage increases, health insurance buyout for the upcoming budget cycle.
Now, Patrick gets to come up and you let me do last meeting by Zoom, so I'm kind of getting used to this. I just introduce people, and they do all the heavy lifting. So one of the things that we wanted to discuss, and I know you might have some questions in regards to this, because if you've been watching all the municipal governments on the email listserv like I am, everybody is wondering how are we supposed to fund the Paid Family Medical Leave Act that the funding portion takes effect January 1st of 25. So everybody that's doing a fiscal year budget that's going to roll halfway into 2025, how do we figure this? So the state law says you got to start collecting money January 1st. It's got to be 1% of wages. So what Patrick has done has incorporated that into that 6-month period that starts January, runs to the end of the fiscal year in June, and then you have to carry it forward. For employers that are considered large, 15 employees or higher, you have an option of sharing that 1% cost with the employee. The employee can have 0.5% deducted from their wages to go toward this, and then the county will pay another 0.5% deducted to their wages. So I wanted to bring this up during this conversation as you were looking ahead into the budget to get the consensus of how the commissioners would like to approach it. You don't have to have the employees participate. You can just simply budget 1% of their wages and pay that to the state to fund this program when it goes into effect. But because this program definitely benefits employees, the thinking is maybe they should participate at least 0.5% into this program. That being said, if you were to have a COLA discussion, a cost of living increase for this budget for Patrick to implement, would you take into effect whether or not you would also be taking 0.5% from the person's cost of living increase to cover this effective January 1st? That's the way I would look at it as an employee. So I bring that to you for discussion, and all your questions about paid family medical leave can be directed to my left. So.
My first question is, if we, just for the sake of simplicity, we do 1% for all employee. Now, we have a situation where we have certain employee payroll spaces that haven't been met. We still need to capture that 1%. Should those be filled? And you say no.
Oh, yes, if they're filled, but if they're not filled, it's based on, the actual is gonna be based on actual wages paid.
But we would still have to budget for them to be completely filled, so there'd be that capture anyway at our end. We wouldn't send it to the state.
Right, correctly. Right now, the way I have the budget set up is I put the 1% as like a county paid portion currently in the budget.
Right, yeah. And that would cover all the payrolls, whether they're filled or open.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So at the end of the time period, then the open payrolls, that 1% would go back into the general budget.
Yes, it would just roll into undesignated fund.
Yeah. Okay.
So as far as COLA increases, is that a required policy, or is that a policy that we just recognize every year?
So it's a benefit to the non-union employees, of which there's probably 30 in the
Okay,
county.
so the union contracts probably
Union
require a
contracts.
COLA, so we're matching that.
Right. So traditionally, it's been 3.5% is what the commissioners have granted as a COLA increase to the non-union employees. And that usually is set around this time as we go into the budget.
Yeah.
I think there was actually a period of time when the county froze budgets, froze pay and COLAs, but I don't know the history on that.
It's
before me.
So you haven't experienced that?
You haven't experienced, okay, that's what I was
It
wondering.
was 2.5% at one point.
Right, it's 2.5, probably 2 or 3 years ago. Then when COVID basically hit, it jumped up to 3.5 because inflation skyrocketed.
Also mass union.
Yeah.
What's the COLA increase for Social Security this year? Do you know?
Good question.
It's a vast majority of taxpayers that are gonna cover this cost, so they're on Social Security. What's their increase?
I don't think.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Last year was like a little over 8%. I don't know what this year is.
The other question is, what's the CPI?
The CPI has increased in the past 3 years by 20%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
inflation has been insane.
Wait till your boy gets in.
Well, good food for thought. I would think
Joe.
Sorry. 3.2. Thank you.
continue with the 1% at this point for the budgeting purposes, but I think that we'll probably end up with the 50-50.
So that's just sort of a policy decision that we should make, whether we think it's a good idea for the employees to contribute to this boom that they are getting, and or whether it should be just, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what we all think about
I
it.
guess the question on this leave, how does it tie into the already provided vacation and sick?
This is paid not through the county, this is paid through the state. So the county has to follow a law that says that any working employee at a minimum needs to earn 1 hour for every 40 hours they work. So that's part of a paid leave program. This is over and above that. This is family medical leave that is being paid by the state, I would assume, not through us. We just have to pay them that 1% of our wages.
And I know nothing about it. Is that, so if you got on family medical leave because you have a sick child or sick family member?
There's many applications of family medical leave, Leanne can speak to those, so I don't think those applications have changed. It's just a matter of now that they're gonna pool money, and you can be able to apply to the state for 90% of your wages I think there's a cap right now, it's up to $1,100 a week is the cap. And so that's what you can apply to the state for while you're on family medical leave. A company cannot create a policy that says you must use all your sick and vacation time before you apply for this. So in a sense, one of the things that everybody's waiting to see how this works out is how does it affect productivity? How does it affect the amount of time people are off? Because you may have people that have 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks of vacation, 400 hours of sick time, and now they have an additional 12 weeks of paid leave. So that's the unknown factor going forward, that you really, and the law is structured so you really can't kind of control that by requiring people to take vacation.
And the 12 weeks of paid leave, is that a year or?
Per calendar year. And you can apply for more if the circumstances allow.
What is the tax liability of the 1%, the 0.5% from the worker?
It's gonna be, right around 150,000 for us a year for the 1% currently.
No, that's not what I asked. The tax consequence for the employee to have 0.5%
It's
taken.
gonna be 0.5% of their gross pay.
Then that would be also, is that a direct deduction from what they declare?
Well, I don't know how it's gonna impact their taxes per se,
That's,
but it's gonna reduce their gross pay by 0.5%.
So that
I understand that, I just was wondering how it would impact their.
I don't know if they can claim it on their taxes, I don't know.
Right, is it pre-taxed?
That's what I was just gonna ask that question, is it pre-taxed or post-tax? Because if it's pre-tax, then that's gonna give them a benefit on their,
Yeah. it was a benefit.
Well, it's not really pre-tax, because
Is
I
it-
don't think it's gonna be taking half of the tax.
Is the
Based on-
subtraction from the gross, lower the gross that they have to report?
I do not know the tax.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that would make a huge difference.
would make a huge
Well,
difference.
you gotta realize that if it just reduces their taxes, the benefit they're gonna get is only, what, 20%? If you're looking at it that way, it's not gonna. be-
Right, no, I understand it's a game of percentages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if it came out of their checks prior to tax deduction? They would have a tax benefit, really, in terms of their income tax.
Right.
Right. Is what the question is.
Right.
So the reason I wanted to have this discussion now is not so that you make a decision on FMLA paid and how it's dispersed, whether 0.5% or full percent. But like the chairman said, just kind of move forward with the budget as it is, back in this 1%. Once you get to that point in January, then if you decide then the employees need to pay half and the county pays a half, that's something that will need to be written into policy in regards to that. Was there any ideas from the commission what they wanted to do for a cost of living for this year? So Patrick can factor that in for non-union employees in the budget.
So the union employees are getting 3.5?
You can't really look at the percentage, because some will give a percentage plus fixed dollar increase.
And some contracts have recently been renewed and others have not.
Yeah. Well, again, for budgeting, we could consider 3.5, and then go from there, but if we say that, then we have to take it, we'd have to take it away then. Because again, this is an impact on all the people in the county.
Just non-union.
No, the taxpayer.
Oh, you
The
talking
people,
about
the people who have to pay,
Okay, you're talking about the
yeah,
payment method.
yeah,
That's true.
our revenue stream is what pays
Unless
the
that applies to
taxpayer.
every employee, yes.
Yeah. So, again, the game of percentages. So keep the 3.5 in your back of your head, and we'll
Well, it's
We'll go
not-
forward.
It's in there currently.
Yeah.
I would just change it if needed.
Is that the consensus of the?
I think so.
Yep, right.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I found when I was going through the personnel policy is the practice of buyouts for folks that have insurance outside of the county. And according to the personnel policy, there is no standard. It is set by you, the commissioners, for non-union employees every year. Traditionally, we have provided 4 months of an individual policy's coverage as the buyout for a non-union employee that doesn't take our medical insurance. Each of the contracts is worded close to the same, but some of those numbers are a little bit different.
Can you explain that to me, just an example?
So an example is, right now, it costs $1,175 a month for the county to pay for an individual's health insurance premiums.
All right.
If you, as an employee, choose not to take the health insurance and you can prove that you're covered somewhere else,
Because I might have a spouse that provides, okay.
then depending on what union you're in, you may receive 4 months, the equivalent of 4 months, which would, at $1,175. $4,700. And you would receive that at the end of your 12-month anniversary period.
Is that a one-shot deal, or is it every year?
Every year. So as that premium goes up, that buyout goes up. So now.
And is that part of the union contract?
It is in each union contract. However, in some unions, it's 6 months of buyout, and in some unions, it's 4 months buyout. But as far as the non-union employees, which is what you're discussing right now, it's set by you.
And we have set it at 4.
You could set it at what you'd like to set it at, because it's set every year. And if you want to be consistent with most of the other employees, it would be 4, and that's what it's been for years. And I don't know if this has come before the commissioners, but it's what's in your personnel policy.
So the rationale is that because you choose to get health insurance from some other source, we're going to give you some money.
Right, it's a buyout. In a sense, you are saving the county money by not taking that family plan, which costs almost $30,000.
Right, that they may not even know, use because they have a better plan somewhere else.
I mean, one might argue that if they choose to do that, and the county has saved money by doing that, why would that be a reason to spend more money that we're saving? I don't get the rationale of that.
The county covers 100% for the employee.
Right.
So there's no incentive not to sign up for the health insurance. Then you can have use one insurance as the gap insurance.
Okay, so that's the rationale, is it's an incentive to not avail themselves of full county health insurance. Okay. That's what I was after, just trying to figure out why we do it. Other than the reason, because we always do it that way.
And on that note, I personally don't see any reason why we would change.
Yeah, neither do I.
Because that's how we've always done it.
All for it.
So is that the consensus, to keep it at 4 weeks?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or 4 months?
Yes.
4 months.
4 weeks is better.
I know it's better.
4 days, you say?
All right, thank you.
So, we've done that, okay, so we're on to item G, new agenda items. I have requests for a new agenda item to be 2443, to approve the hire of William Crawford as part-time dispatcher at the Somerset County's Communications Center. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And there's discussion?
Commissioner, Tammy, this is Tammy's first meeting, so I'm going to jump in because I'm not as shy. I'm just going to ask if there's any consideration, considering we have 3 openings as of next week. We interviewed this week. We have 2 names that we were going to wait until the next meeting for new hires, but I wasn't sure if there was any possibility of getting them added to this agenda.
You can add them right to this motion if you know the names.
I do. They're Adam Poulin and Elizabeth Hume. It would just give us a 2-week jump start to get their in-house training started. They're not going to the state for their training until April. But
The last name of Elizabeth is spelled?
Hume.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as the maker of that motion, do you agree with those two additions?
Yes.
And the seconder?
Absolutely.
All right, so this is a motion to create an agenda item. Any other discussion? All in favor? Okay, so we'll come back to this under 2443.
Thank you.
And finance reporting.
Well, we're currently 20 openings countywide. So that's actually an increase since last month. We had 18 openings, so status quo, all the departments are positive. There's really no new news.
Well, hopefully with this agenda, it'll be 17.
Well, yeah, but we're going the wrong direction.
Yes, I know.
Glass half full.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Patrick, any?
That's
That's it, okay. And now administrative report?
All right, you have my bullet points there in your packet and some other information. Let me just say it's been, Patrick has been my budgeting trainer, which means he takes me in this room and he works me through exercises for an hour every day, and I feel worse after. But it really, I really enjoyed it, and I had the pleasure of meeting with the jail staff and the sheriff earlier this week, and I think it went really well, so I've enjoyed doing that. The only thing I'll put on your radar right now is the town of Palmyra did a full-fledged revaluation back in 2003, and they've got some upset customers. So there are...
Did you say 2003?
23. And it was their first revaluation since 2000, or since 1987. And so they had lakefront property where the land was valued at $30,000. And so they got some folks that are making abatement requests. They're being denied at the town level, and so they might be heading your way. I have...
Oh, you'll be heading our way
Yeah.
because I've gotten,
So I have spoken with the assessor that did the work, who's a very well qualified, longtime assessor in the state. And that assessor is going to meet with the Palmyra selectmen next Wednesday on the 14th to see if the town can settle these at that level. If not, they'll be trying to schedule something before you, probably in March. Once you get your budget stuff settled, it'll be later on. So that's coming. Just want to put that on your radar. The other thing I want to spend just a few minutes talking about is an update on the TIF project that we're looking at in the unorganized territories. I've given you some information that's been provided from Eaton Peabody and worked on by me. This is the New England Clean Energy Connect, the CMP corridor, as it runs through the unorganized territories. In the map I provided to you, it shows you the UT sections that are impacted from Appleton to Rayton to Bradstreet, Harlan Pond. But the two of most interest for this particular TIF are specifically Johnson Mountain and Moxie Gore. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is state law says you can only have 5% of your county's valuation tied up in a TIF district, I'm sorry, unorganized territories valuation. The UT valuation is just under $1 billion. This section that runs through the UT of the CMP corridor is valued at $109 million. So they already make up 10%. So we cannot apply a TIF district to all of it because that would blow beyond that cap that's required by the state. So going over this with the attorneys, we zeroed in on Johnson Mountain and Moxie Gore. Those two, the valuations there make up a little around 4 to 4.5% of the UT's valuation. And we're anticipating that these may have the highest yield as far as the impact of valuation, primarily because at Moxie Gore is where they go underneath the river. So there'll be a substantial investment in that particular part of the project. The other thing, in talking with folks at CMP, they're very aware of the optics of this project, and so they wanted to make sure that the lion's share of the money did go to the state through Maine revenue, which it will, because we're not able to TIF the entire corridor. And they never asked for, nor did our attorneys offer, a credit enhancement agreement. So CMP does not benefit from this project at all. In other words, they're not getting any of their tax dollars back. This is just a way of capturing a certain amount of money that the commissioners can have control of for infrastructure and recreation needs in the UT. So to that effect, the conservative estimates are revenues somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000 to $275,000 a year that would come to you as the commissioners from Maine revenue by tipping these two locations in the UT. So it's not a big pot of money, but it is consistent with what we currently receive, close to what we currently receive from the wind tower tips. So you can look at it as essentially a addition to the wind tower TIF that will run parallel for the next 20 years, because the wind tower TIF will be done in 20 years, and this, if we start it now, will be a 30-year TIF, will extend 10 years beyond that. Just giving the future commissioners other avenues of revenue to utilize in the unorganized territories. So that's pretty much the long and short of it. There is a list in your packets of the development projects, and I think eight out of 10 of those are consistent with what's already in the wind TIF. There's a few other elements that were added in there, but primarily roads, bridges, culverts, and buildings in the UT are all eligible expenses for these TIF dollars. So, any questions?
I was just trying to make sure that it's not just Johnson Mountain and Moxie Gore that it has to be applied to, but
Correct.
it's the whole UT.
It's what we refer to as Tier 3 projects. And a Tier 3 projects benefits the entire municipality.
Yeah.
In this case, that municipality is the UT.
Right. Okay.
So even though we're not tipping those towns, we can still spend the money there.
That's correct, if needs are there, that's right. Needs are in Lexington, Concord, or even some of these other more obscure. A lot of these unorganized territories don't have any people, don't have any structures, so it's just mostly land that's being taxed.
So in that situation, the money being spent, obviously roads, bridges, culverts, like you had said there. What about private enterprises? You know, one of the things we're dealing with is, in other situations is, we're grading private camp roads, we're doing snowmobile clubs, those sorts of things. Can that money be spent on, well, let's look at this hotel project that we've got over here. What if something similar to that was going on up there?
No, similar to that going on in the UT.
Up there, right.
Yes, you have your components in these development projects for economic development. And so the economic development portion would allow you to do that. And as Dave has attested many times, for a lot of the unorganized territory, snowmobiles, ATVs, rafting, that's your economic development.
Right.
But if somebody wanted to build a business or build something that was going to create jobs, that's certainly something that you would be able to consider.
Now, I don't know where the law is, where it is going through everything, that is hoping to take TIF money to be able to use for, in the law's case, municipal expenditures, so that you could take TIF monies and repair a town office. I believe there's an amendment to include counties in that, or the counties and unorganized territories in that. Is that something that we are looking forward to implementing within this TIF?
Yeah, the short answer is yes, and municipalities in southern Maine got into trouble years ago when they spent TIF money to build a $3 million town office, and so the legislator said, don't do that. But now they've kind of come around, especially in the more rural areas, and say, okay, if you have infrastructure needs that include renovations to buildings that are in your municipality, in this case, within the UT, then those are approved practices. Also, efforts to develop housing are approved practices now, and so that we added that one in here as well.
Because I was thinking mostly of the Rockwood Fire Station and.
That's right. Yeah, so that would be.
Other ambulance outposts that we may have in a
Yeah.
UT.
Yeah, those would be eligible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next step, if you're willing and able, the timing is we need to get this information to the state by March. March is a very busy time for you folks with the budget. Would you be willing to hold a public hearing, which is part of the required process, at the next meeting on the 21st?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
of course.
So I will go ahead and schedule that, and we'll post it in the newspaper as required and meet all the state statutes.
The 21st of
February.
February.
Yep, yep. So, okay. Good. Well, that's all I had to report.
All right, thank you. Department heads. I'm gonna
Okay, go first?
go with Mike and then,
Just a couple of follow-ups first. I'm going back to the December of '22 disaster declaration. It's been reported to me that towns are now in the process of receiving their funds from that, which is good news. Still no movement on the MACE going yet as far as anything that I've heard as far as funding return goes, but at least we're, about 13 months back, and those have started to come in. I know MEMA got hit real hard. I believe right now they have 10 open disaster declarations that they're trying to coordinate, so, and potentially another 1 or 2 out of the January storm. So they're kind of like full bore right now. We had our hazard mitigation plan update kickoff meeting on January 24th. Between virtual and the attendance in person in the EOC, we had 29 people. So we're getting a lot of good information back from the towns. Our contractor has already provided me with the first swipe of the amended portion of the plan. Our goal is to try to get this cranked as quick as possible, and possibly even by April have a setting down at MEMA for them to review before it gets sent off to FEMA for their review. As everybody has seen, FEMA came to town very quickly this last weekend. It actually started with a quick conversation on Friday night, and by Saturday, they were rolling in, and Saturday, they were already on the ground in Anson, visiting houses on the River Road. The teams moved in and got set up in the EOC late on Monday, and as you all saw, the governor was there yesterday morning with the federal coordinating officer from FEMA to kind of open the center, open the disaster recovery center, and get the word out to people that we were there and different options that they had for being able to report. It was interesting. Will Roy, who was the FCO, made a comment yesterday that Friday night, actually Friday afternoon, there were actually some teams on the ground, and I'm assuming it was probably in Oxford County, and there was actually money in people's accounts on Friday night that had been processed because of the damage that they had evaluated on Friday. So currently, I just got it as we were sitting here, I get the new numbers. Currently, for individual assistance in Somerset County, approved at this point, with just a couple of days in, is just over $335,000 in individual assistance has been approved to residents in the county. So we can only hope moving forward. I know we have some other very large pockets that we're looking to, to send the disaster teams to who are out there working, and the activity has picked up greatly within the DRC, that the EOC too. So hopefully we're getting the word out there, and people are going to be coming in. So we'll continue. Their timeline is 60 days from the day of declaration. The declaration was on the 31st. And so they would actually be with us until at least April 1st. And at that point, the state does have the option of requesting a 30-day extension and keeping them in the state longer than that. So we will have them for an extended period of time set up in the EOC. So.
Yes.
Quick question, Mike. So, slightly different topic. I had a conversation with Dell a couple of days ago. They're having the same old communications issues with the two towers.
Terry's been dealing with Dell.
Okay. So I guess where are we at with that? And one of the questions was, of course, and this was before my time, but I guess things were working quite well with the Moose Mountain situation. One of the questions I have is, because it seems like we're spending a lot of time and money trying to get these two towers so that they work, and the cost of the Moose Mountain piece, would we be better off investing?
Unfortunately, there is no cost to the Moose Mountain piece, because the state will not allow us to co-locate on their tower.
They're just not gonna
They're not
allow it,
allowing
okay.
it. As I understand.
So it's not even an option, okay.
No, as I understand it, the Maine Interoperable Communications Committee, the MIC, actually, or at least some members of that committee, met with a couple of reps at MEMA just recently, and they're talking about legislation to create the co-location piece. So I'm not sure why we have to go to legislation to do this, but understanding that OIT controls all of those new towers, everything has to go through OIT radio. So they're looking at creating legislation, for some reason, to allow co-location on those towers. Now, there are some agencies that are co-located on it now, because if you bought in when they first built the tower at an unknown figure, you were allowed to be on it. However, Piscataquis County is on Moose, for instance, okay? Their problem is, they cannot get to that tower to do repair unless somebody from Maine State OIT radio accompanies them to that tower, which means they have to pay Maine State OIT to helicopter to the top of the mountain to go up to assist their vendor while he's there, or at least watch their vendor while he's there. So there's gonna be a whole bunch of moving pieces with that. And I'm we fought for what, the last 5 to 7 years to try to get back on the moves. I mean, I will send the guy who's in charge at OIT, actually used to work for Yankee Communications, and actually was our radio, guy.
Yeah, Randy, not Randy,
No, it's
Rusty.
John Richards.
Oh,
John Richards is the guy who's actually at OIT.
Oh,
He used to
okay,
work for
okay.
Rusty at Yankee.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But, we've tried countless times to try to get some type of determination to get up there. So our best option at this point is to try to keep those two towers up. Now, what's going to be in the budget this year, which we're going to ask for you to support, is upgrading the internet connection that we have at the West Forks Tower. Right now, there's just a simple DSL connection going in there. So when it goes down, it's not on their list to go up and take care of, you know what I mean? So literally, probably at least 5 of the last 6 weeks, Tammy's called Consolidated and started a ticket with them because that tower is down. It'll come back up, it went come up about last Friday, it was back down on Sunday.
Right.
So what we're looking to do is upgrade that connection to a fiber connection, which now puts us into a contract with them where they get an immediate notification and they've got 2 hours to get that fiber connection taken care of as opposed to 7 days. So comes with a cost. I mean, our monthly cost is gonna more than double, for that piece. But what happens is the Coburn Tower, which is kind of where Dell's talking about, where they're coming off from, is controlled through the West Forks Tower. So when the West Forks Tower goes down, we lose the Coburn Tower as far as that goes. Now, we've already upgraded the batteries at the Coburn Tower. We will be upgrading the solar panels on that tower that are ours, or over 20 years old at this point. Our plan is to upgrade those panels just as soon as they can get up there and do it. And then Yankee is already set up with a couple of guys to go in and clear trees out, because we are seeing some type of tree growth that's blocking the solar panels too. So it's a combination of things, Joel. I wish I could.
So there's a solution.
Right,
It's
just that we're
right.
trying
And Christian has a ton of money for running fiber.
Okay.
Right? I mean, this is a little bit more important than Netflix, I think, but.
I mean, I'll be quite honest with you, we've had some discussions about coming to you about using TIF money to make this happen, for the simple fact that we're covering unorganized territories off
Right.
those towers. Because there's only so much money in the communications budget to take care of some of these issues that need to be addressed. So that may be a discussion that somebody has in the future to. I
would love to have somebody bring that forward.
Especially once we can get some type of determination on when, if ever, we can get on the boost. Because it's not gonna be an inexpensive process.
Mhm.
So,
Fiber is going up 201, hopefully by the end of '24, completion sometime in '25. Dedicated strands, but I don't know how far off 201.
well, that's a cell tower, there's already fiber there. So there, I mean, literally what's happening to that, we're paying $50-something a month right now for rent on, for the internet connection up there. It's gonna go to $138. So we looked at doing the same thing on our Fairfield tower, because we've been having the same issues down there. However, there's no fiber by there. So therefore, it's a $10,000 upfront charge and like $288 a month or something like that, because they want to recoup their money, obviously, for running the fiber over there. So our more important piece right now, as far as focus goes, is up in West Forks.
Okay.
So yeah, I get it, but I mean, Tammy's spent the entire weekend last weekend with Dell on the phone between
Yeah.
text messages and phone calls,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I just want to
Yeah.
wanted to clarify that
No,
and
absolutely.
just see if there was some sort of solution.
Yeah, and
Okay.
like I say, it isn't something that we're ignoring, we're trying to get there, it's just,
Mhm.
you don't get there overnight, especially when you're dealing, you know, with those towers up there, they're
Okay.
not easily accessible.
Would it be possible to either forward me some of those communications through my email so that I could, that way they're 2-3 months from now or whatever, I'm actually up to date on, and Dell doesn't have to try to fill me in on everything that's gone on. That would be helpful.
Absolutely.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, next.
I don't have much to add because I'm shy, apparently. You know Patrick.
Well, she is in the beginning, wait a month.
You're not shy, I know that.
Stats-wise, we averaged 197 calls for service last month, with 60 of those being 911 calls. Outside of the radio stuff that we just talked about, our main focus right now is staffing. We're down 2 positions, and tomorrow will be the last day of someone else. So we'll be filling 15 shifts every month, starting Monday, in addition to vacations or sick call-outs. So it's going to be challenging for the next couple of months to get those new hires up. But I appreciate you entertaining them today on your agenda.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Are you all set? Any further to report? No?
Thank you.
Sheriff?
Just a few things, doing the end of year stats, last year we did about 15,000 calls for service, we're up to 18,000 calls for service for the sheriff's office. I want to make you aware that we did receive our award for a drone. It's about somewhere between $19,500 and $20,000. We do have a deputy who is has a pilot's license, so you have to follow FFA rules to be able to fly that, but that will give us greater capacity to do accident reconstruction and also, when we're called to assist looking for lost individuals. So we haven't received the drone yet. We were awarded the grant, so we're going to be moving forward with that. And the Deputy Andrew Bowman was awarded what we selected to be our next K-9 handler. That's all through a grant program also. The dog is coming out of Florida. The dog should be here within the next couple of weeks. And lastly, you may or may not have seen in the paper, but the SAD 54 has asked us to be their SRO for Canaan and Norwalk. We have a deputy for that, and we're going to be moving forward with that.
Can I just to follow up with what the sheriff said as far as that grant goes, I would like to give kudos to Kristen Washburn for the work that she did on that. It all came through Homeland Security, so I was watching the whole thing happen. And I think that policy that they require bounce back for a minimum of 15 times for a rewrite.
Yeah,
so
that's a very true statement. That was a very, very heavy lift that Christine Washburn, she took on that work. And as Director Smith was saying, that It is a very comprehensive policy that we have to abide by. There was a lot of work, a lot of hours that went into that grant.
But I will tell you, between the SO and Fairfield, who got approved at just about the same time, those are the two model policies now that I think probably FEMA will be looking at using for future grants. So.
Yeah, statewide.
So, Sheriff, so now that we're in the organized crime, weed busting business, I'm concerned about the hours that the taxpayers in Somerset County are gonna have to pay for that. Is that, do we get any sort of help from the state or the feds when it's that type of crime that they're ordinarily supposed to be dealing with a lot more than what they are? Or is it completely on us?
So there will be a cost. Those operations cost quite a bit of money to pull just to get to the search. There's a lot of time involved. We can talk offline, but the county will burden those.
Okay, so there's no avenue for backfilling any of that, it's completely up to the county taxpayers, okay, thanks.
The dog, is that specially trained in any particular area?
The dog will be a patrol dog for tracking, so the dog will work as a patrol tracking dog. If down the road we decide that we want to expand it to doing drug searches, we might do that. But the Supreme Court has been real clear on how long you can hold a car at a traffic stop. So we'll evaluate that as we move forward, but right now it's a tracking patrol dog.
Any other questions for the sheriff? Okay. Chief? Issue? Mike?
We got 4 people in various stages of training, 4 new deputies. One of them's at the academy right now, full-time academy, he's in his 4th week. We got the other 4 in various changes of going through their field training. And potentially, we have as many as 4, maybe more, going to the academy in August.
Which will hurt.
Good.
At the jail, to echo some of the staffing concerns, we're feeling that crunch as well. We do have 2 in training right now, and we're expecting 2 more to start mid-month, so that will help. I also want to take this as an opportunity to introduce Travis Andrews, who is on the agenda today. He will hopefully be taking over as lieutenant, which was my former position. Travis has been with the county for about 26 years. He's been my go-to person as far as boots on the ground, helping me with different investigations. And he has well-rounded experience in the jail and through the sheriff's department in general, so I look forward to working with him.
I do not.
Did you want to stand up and take a bow? Thank you. Register of Deeds.
Yes, so everything's going well. I'm a month in now, and while Arlene was on vacation, Laura Price came in to cover for her, so I had 2 weeks of really intensive training, which I enjoyed, and just everything's going smoothly, and a long future ahead, I can see.
Okay, UT?
In my case, we had a lot of discussion earlier on FEMA, and we had damage from the May storm. FEMA declared it a disaster, and we did all the paperwork, we got it submitted to FEMA, but we ran into a problem with the gravel to repair all the roads came from an unlicensed bid. So we were kind of working to figure out what can we do about that. We were trying to get the contractor to move forward and get it licensed, and then we had the December storm. Much more damage. We're up over $90,000 now. Most of it was from this pit, some was from another one. And we basically are gonna act as agents for our contractor. We're going to do the application to Land Use Planning Commission and get them to sign off as us as their agent and see if we can get it licensed, because the initial claim was about $27,000. It's pretty small for most FEMA claims. This one obviously is going to be larger. Combined between Concord and Lexington, we're up over 90,000, and that was just to get the roads passable. We have actually a landslide on the road in Caring Place Township that started from the edge of the road and went down to the brook. So we had to put some Jersey barriers along where the shoulder used to be, is now a long way down. So we've got Jersey barriers there to block off any type of traffic that may go that way. But that will have to be fixed in a more permanent solution come spring. So we're gonna have more expenses when we can get out and work on the roads some more.
How long do you think that process will take with the licensing? Now that we got some professionals on it.
Yeah, believe me, it's a complicated issue.
I'm sure it is.
Phil, Curtis, and I were up to Greenville meeting with the Land Use Planning Commission. We had one person zoomed in from Brewster County, and we had 2 people on site trying to lead us through this. And some of it, and because it is an application that is used for any large development, there's all kinds of things that really don't apply to a gravel pit. But this gravel pit's been in existence and in operation for about 7 years now. So a lot of what they're asking doesn't apply to the situation we're in now. But I've been working on it for the last couple of days and making progress. So, you know, there's several portions that we can't do here. We have to send letters of questions to different departments on historical preservation, rare plants and animals, and some other things, you know, at the state level, and they are understaffed just the way everybody else seems to be. So getting turnarounds from them is sometimes weeks or even months. So I just got to get my part done as quick as I can. This is a gravel pit I've never been to. Driven by it on a long called Dam Road, but I'll be up there tomorrow to see the lay of the land, get an idea on the slopes and the terrain, which I can look at in aerial photography. But nothing beats being there in person.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any questions? Pavel?
So, new county website has been launched today. So that's good news. So, you mentioned like kudos to Jonathan. So he took that project over and he was able to finalize that website within like 2 weeks. So really good. Firewalls project. So we completed firewall implementation at the jail. So the next site is going to be courthouse, followed by communication center. Backup tape drive project that has been completed too. So we're moving in. IT budget has been, the first draft has been completed. So we will meet with county administrator next week to discuss it.
Any questions?
So, where that was taken over and done with somebody else, where do we stand with payment, what kind of payment, lesser payment for the company that was?
So you're referring to the website development? So I shared some of this in an email, but to kind of make it brief, there was never any contract. There were no stipulations of any deliverables within a certain time frame. And this was based on promises that we believe were made by an employee that's no longer here. So that's how this, and I use the term company loosely because it's really just a small family that does this work. They do good work, but they were just overwhelmed to the point where they just emailed us out of the blue and said, we're done. And so not only were they done finishing the website, they also had taken over for the company that hosted our website. So their hosting of the website is also done, which is why it was very important for Jonathan to get all this work done so we could do a soft launch today before that hosting runs out next week. Once we're clear and we've got the SO and the jail and everybody's websites up there functioning and interacting, then I'm going to circle back and just make some contact about the $4,500 that we paid them in advance. Because that's all paid. We don't owe them any more money.
Anything outside of that, we don't.
Right, right.
All set? Thank you. All right, moving along to new business, Resolution 2429, to authorize $2,000 in community benefit funds to be distributed to Old Canada Road Scenic Byway.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Let's go. Resolution 2430, to authorize $15,000 in community benefit funds to be distributed to the Solon Community Food Cupboard.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Let's go. 2431, to authorize $15,000 in community benefit funds to be distributed to Main Street, Skowhegan.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? 3, any opposed, or all in favor, or
No, no.
you're all in favor? Okay. No opposed. Resolution 2432, to authorize the next round of community benefit matching grant applications for spring of 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
So I just might add some detail to this. Based on the last meeting where we had some folks from St. Albans asking questions about funding for their programs, now that we have the new website out, we actually have a page dedicated to these programs, both the TIF and the community benefit and what Christian offers through SEDC. So I was a little frustrated when we were directing people to the old website and they really couldn't find anything. Now they should be able to find it real quick. So I've created an application using the period of April 1st to May 3rd as when the applications would be open again. So if that's okay with the commissioners, I can incorporate that into this motion.
All right, any consensus is good. Any, and now, let's see if we can pass the motion as presented. All in favor? Let's go. And Resolution 2433, to approve the underwriting of an SED loan to High Tide Capital. This is about the Somerset County providing $100,000 to High Tide to be administered through the Somerset Economic Development Committee.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Quick as a go. And Resolution 2434, to approve the promotion of Tammy Barker to Communications Director and the promotion of Travis Andrews to Special Projects Lieutenant at the Somerset County Jail.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Okay. Now you can really stand up and take a breath.
Congratulations.
Thank you, both of you. Resolution 2435, to authorize the posting of a job opening for Emergency Management Deputy Director.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Let's go. Resolution 2436, to acknowledge 2 correction officer resignations from the Somerset County Jail.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? And Resolution 2437, to acknowledge the termination of a probationary corrections officer from the Somerset County Jail.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in,
If I could just add a couple points here, moving forward, We had a back and forth discussion regarding this on emails and what the state statute actually requires for the commissioners to do. In regards to terminations of probationary jail employees, state statute says that those do not need to come before the commissioners. So I'm going to instruct HR and the jail administrators not to bring those as agenda items in the future. There's really no need to put that on there anymore. In regards to resignations, that may be more of a, taken on a case-by-case basis, because there's nothing in state statute that says the commissioners have to accept a resignation. In fact, our personnel policy says resignations are deemed accepted immediately. So I think we're going to have to navigate that a little bit more. As far as terminations go, and hirings are very obvious, and we'll continue to follow state statute for that. But as far as terminations go and resignations, I would recommend bringing to you some suggestions for adding a little bit more policy to that.
How about promotions?
Promotions should be on the agendas as well.
Is that in the statute? Or is that...
It would be considered a hire in the way I read the statute, yeah. Yeah. So.
Okay. All right, so, all in favor of Resolution 2437? Okay. Resolution 2438 to approve the hire of the following correction officers at the Somerset County Jail: Nicholas Rotundi, Brandon Chase, and Cameron Atwood.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Let's go. Resolution 2439 to approve Commissioner's mileage reimbursement for November 2023 through January 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
And I have a question for Kim.
You don't put it for me.
Okay.
I don't know.
That should-
I put my mileage down on that cable I turned into you, but because you didn't see it yet.
No, I did. It's in the,
Oh, it's in there.
it's in those forms for you to sign.
Because I forgot to tell you where it was.
No, I saw it. You're going to get your $11.
All right.
Yeah, I think I saw that in there
Way
too.
more responsibility.
Oh, capital reserve expenditures, Resolution 2440 to authorize the purchase of a Ford Explorer to be used as a detective's vehicle for the sheriff's office, $56,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Let's go. Resolution 2441 to authorize additional funds to outfit the recently purchased transport van for the Somerset County Jail, $18,206.90.
90 cents.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Just a quick, and that is just to put the required seats in it and all of the stuff that is not there, is that correct?
So we get the van that has nothing in it, and so we do have to outfit it with seats. We've gone with actually the cheapest, than doing it.
Wooden slats.
What's that?
Wooden slats.
Well, maybe back in the 50s.
Used, yeah.
Steel cages?
Used.
And for safety's sake, nice spots for handcuffs so they don't fall out.
That it takes a certain type of seat, right? I mean, that's
Right,
required,
yeah,
so, yeah.
It's custom built for that vehicle.
Yeah. Warrants. Resolution 2442 to approve the treasurer's warrant for general fund, Somerset County Jail, unorganized territory, TIF tax revenue, and TIF.
Can we back up a minute? We didn't vote on that last one.
That's 2443.
On the, one for the stuff for the van, did we?
Yeah, we just
After
did.
the discussion, did we vote on that?
I thought we did.
I don't believe we did.
All right, let's take it up. Do we vote in favor?
Now you can spend the money.
Yeah, you got to spend money. Resolution 2442 to approve the treasurer's warrant for general fund, Somerset County Jail, unorganized territory, TIF tax revenue, and TIF community benefit for a total of $637,663.74.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? And Resolution 2443 to approve the hire of William Crawford, Adam Pullen, and Elizabeth Hume as part-time. They're all going to be part-time?
William's part-time, the other two.
Okay, William Crawford as part-time dispatcher and Adam Pullen and Elizabeth Hume as full-time dispatcher at the Somerset County Communications Center.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Let's go. Miscellaneous discussion items. We do have a couple of communications thanking us for the, for support. Funds from Pine Tree Hospice for $250. And the other is from Heartland, Maine regarding their Historical Society for the community benefit grant of $15,000. So I have a couple letters here. Any other miscellaneous discussion items? Joel?
I have nothing.
John?
Nothing.
Scott? Good. Yep. I'm okay. Next motion is to adjourn.
Oh, so moved.
All right. All in favor can go. All opposed can stay.
We gotta stay, we got stuff to talk about.
Yeah, now you gotta sign stuff. That's for me.
All my notes out.
So Dell is the fire chief up in.
Oh, yeah, don't forget.
No idea what you guys were talking about.
But
About halfway through, it's good.
you gotta frickin' smell and come up with definitions for certain words for me, so.
I just think, is that been an issue, if towers don't work, or?
Yeah, well, yeah, because they used to have one up on Mountain, and now they don't, so they get these two other towers.
$100,000.
Uh-oh, we didn't get the
They're
signature.
cutting out all the time, and they end up in, they're going to save somebody's life, or a rescue, or a fire, and there's areas that they can't communicate with.
I don't see that we have to show those.